Our next speaker is John Blake from Sales Breakthrough Solutions. John is obsessed with helping business people explode sales results using a unique process. John is going to share with us the 7 key steps to better sales, something all businesses should strive for. I know that marketing isn't always something that comes to everybody. We're not all born salespeople, but I'm sure it's a skill that we can learn and grow with. And we welcome John to come through and actually provide the insight and help that we all need. Welcome, John.
Good evening. How are we? Fantastic. Awesome. So, as a starting point, put your hand up if you have ever done any formal sales process type training, please. Cool. Awesome. Put your hand up if you have not. Okay, so it's probably about half and half. So, of those of you who have, would anyone like to volunteer? What it is that they did? Anyone that just put their hand up? Real estate. Okay, cool. How long ago?
Last year.
Last year. Awesome. Anyone else? Hospitality. Brilliant. Awesome. So the reason I asked that is that I have literally done hundreds of these type sessions. Today is an abbreviated session that normally goes for around about 40 to 50 minutes. I'm going to give you as much of that as what I possibly can in the time that we've got. What I typically help clients to do is to control the message that they send out into the marketplace so that people perceive what it is that they do as an opportunity. So control what it is that you write, control what it is that you say, what it is that your team says to potential clients so that the marketplace sees what you do as an opportunity. The second thing that I do for clients is to help them connect with their dream clients. So most clients have got 1 or 2 really good clients and they've got a lot of smaller type clients. And what they find is that the dream clients, the ones that they'd really love to work with, aren't necessarily beating a path to their door through their normal marketing. So I help them to connect with those type clients that they would ideally love to have. And the third thing that I do is I help people to convert more of the inquiries, more of the conversations that they have into paying clients. So tonight what I'm going to share with you is the 7 changes to your sales process that you can use to increase your conversions and profits. More in particular, how to properly diagnose your client situation, the best questions to ask to uncover a client's core problem or motivation, why and how outcome-based selling will transform your sales results, how to eliminate price resistance, and how to powerfully recommend your product or service. But before we do that, what I wanted to share with you is some data around how leads are typically being treated in today's market. So I've got some market data, but before I share market data, because it's easy to kind of look at market data and go, okay, so yeah, some research. Everything that I'm sharing with you, I have actually implemented and tested with clients that I work with, and I'll give you some examples, because it's easy to look at market data and go, but it's not unless you've actually tested something that you can know whether it's valid or not. So the first one is if you follow up a web lead within 5 minutes, you're actually 9 times more likely to convert them. Who receives web leads through their normal marketing? Web inquiries through their normal marketing. Yep, awesome. So 9 times more likely to convert them. I tested this with a client of mine who, it's actually RAC Home Security. So they do security systems for people in their homes. And on their website, on their web inquiry form, it had a field that said, what is the best time to contact you? Now, after I showed them this, they thought they would test on their website a way to essentially take that off. So there was no field anymore to give us a time when you would ideally like us to contact you. And provided it was in business hours, they would simply ring them straight away. Now, RAC record all of their calls. And so we listened to the way that people sounded when they were getting a call back, like literally within 3 to 5 minutes. And people sounded totally different. So they'd be like, oh, that was good. Oh, you rang me straight away. It was bizarre, right? And it literally has translated, because they track everything, it has literally translated into increased sales and higher conversions on the website of their inquiry base. So that's a really important one. 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the meeting, and 44% of salespeople give up after 1 follow-up. So again, with the RAC, first thing I always do with a client, sat all of the consultants down in a room, and I said, right, so here's the scenario. You have gone out and seen somebody, you've done an appraisal, and you've left a quote with them. Put your hand up if you follow up that client once. So all of the 4 consultants put their hands up, and I said, great. Put your hand up if you follow up twice. No hands go up. So I'm okay. Put your hand up if you follow up more than twice. No hands go up. I'm like, okay. In the next 2 weeks, I want you to talk to everyone that has inquired in the last 90 days, and then we'll come back and have a chat. So 2 weeks go by, we come back, we sit back in the room, and I'm like, great, okay, what happened? Every single one of those 4 consultants had done a home security sale for a minimum of $7,000, simply through following up. So the other piece of data is, and this is the bit that's probably the one that most people aren't really aware of, is that 50% of people who inquire about a product or service will purchase within 18 months, but only 15 to 20% will actually buy in the first 90 days. So 35% on average of customers will actually buy within 18 months of inquiring with someone. And we've tested this, and we tested, one of the clients I have is a company that is a display home builder, and their average transaction size is $800,000. $800,000, so they're like a high-end type builder. We went through this process, a re-engagement strategy with their database, and we were able to create 25 sales conversations on a list of people who had literally said, no, I've gone with another builder, no, I've decided to sell my home and buy an existing home. People who had literally said no, but for whatever reason had actually done nothing. So we were able to engage them in, or re-engage them in a conversation about purchasing an $800,000 home. So that, you know, the owners of that particular business were pretty blown away by that. So I've got a question for you. What do these stats mean for us? And what are 2 changes that you could make in your sales process based on what it is that we've just talked about? So turn to the person next to you and just ask them, say, what are 2 things that you could change in your sales process based on what it is that we just heard? I'll give you a minute to have a quick chat with the person next to you. Go. Okay. Okay, so someone tell me, what are 2 things you could tweak in your existing sales process based on what it is that we just learned? Someone? Pardon? Yeah, contact people more often. Absolutely. Who else? Yeah, perseverance. Now, one of the biggest questions I get asked in this type situation is, well, how much is too much? And how often should I call, and how often should I email? So I've created a system for that. I wrote a book called How to Follow Up Without Being a Stalker. You can access it on my website. If you just do a search for John Blake Sales, there's a banner on my website. You can access it. And I also go into the exact template for the voicemail follow-up and the email follow-up in the one-day professional sales masterclass, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the presentation. But 2 really simple things that you can do to increase your sales without really having to do too much at all, other than just being a little bit more proactive with your follow-up. Okay, so what I'm about to share with you is what I call the Strike Sales Framework. So this is the framework that we use when we customise a sales process for the clients that we work with that take into consideration the nuances of their product, the culture, and the context in which they're selling. So I'm going to walk you through that. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about why you would want to have a sales process. Who has an existing sales process in their business? Okay, a few hands. Okay, yep. Okay, so here's why. In the absence of having an actual process in your business that either you or the team that you have in your team use, what most people do is simply go into what I call product dump mode. And what they do is they just simply talk about what they know, which is their product or their service. And most people are really good at that because that's what we're immersed in every day. But the problem with that is that you end up with roller coaster results. You really don't tend to get a lot of consistency. And what we also find is that you become too reliant on one person. Often the business owner is the best salesperson in the business, or there's one person who just, for whatever reason, seems to get it, and everyone else is not doing particularly well. So what that means is that you can't really grow, and what it also means is that you become too reliant on one person. If it's the business owner that's the best salesperson, that person's using all of their time in sales, and they haven't got the time to be able to spend working on the business to actually grow it. I've got one client who's in that situation at the moment. The whole project is about taking him out of the sales process and training people up to get as good a results as what he does. So the other problem with that is that if you've got a really, really good salesperson, they can literally hold your business to ransom. Most people, I would say, hey, do you have a good salesperson in your business? And they go, yeah. And I go, do you know what he does? And they'll go, not really. And if you ask the person, if you say, tell me what you do, they'll go, oh yeah, no, I just, I don't know, I just help people. I just, ask questions. And so because often the really good salespeople don't know what their process is. They're doing it in a lot of ways, very unconsciously. They're unconsciously competent. So what you want is a process that gives you proper diagnostics. Proper diagnostics allows you to work out whether you actually want a client or not. Do you want every single person that you talk to as a client? You don't, do you? No. So you want proper diagnostics. You want consistent results. You want a process that you can put somebody in front of that they can use to get success. That way everyone that you've got is winning. You've got consistency throughout your whole team. You're not reliant on any one particular person, and you can scale your business. I've got a client who I have just trained. I was talking to a couple of the guys earlier on about having teams in the Philippines. I've got a client who've just finished a 6-week program of training a sales team in the Philippines. They've doubled their sales in the last 6 weeks. They were doing 1 sale per week and now they're doing 2. So a scalable business. So what we talk about is the conversion ladder. So down the bottom of the conversion ladder, you've got companies that have got no sales process whatsoever. And typically what that will give you is around about a 5 to 10% conversion rate. And believe it or not, there are businesses out there that the maths allow them to have a 5 to 10% conversion rate, and that's cool. I know a guy in Brisbane who is fantastic at marketing. He's literally a marketing rainmaker. His conversion rate is 5%, and he doesn't care. It's like he can make the maths work with 5%. Above that, you've got companies that have got an ineffective sales process. So there might be one person who is pretty good, but a whole bunch of people who aren't. There's no agreed process that they take a particular inquiry through along the road to bringing them on as a paying client. And what that will give you is around about a 10 to 15% conversion rate. Above that, you've got a generic process, which is perhaps there was a sales training program that was put together at some point, or at least they documented what was best practice within that particular business. And that'll give you around about a 15 to 30% conversion rate. And as a rule of thumb, about an average conversion rate is around about 20 to 25%. So of all of the companies I've spoken to, if I was to give you like an average, what's an average conversion rate across the board, would be around about 20 to 25%. So one in every 5, 1 in every 4. Above that, once you put a structured process together, you can actually achieve between 30 and 60%, depending on what you sell and the context in which the conversation is taking place. And then up the top is once you've actually got a structured process, if you take it to the point where you've refined it and you've continually tested it and proven it, you literally can expect between a 60 and a 90% conversion rate. Now, one of the best examples I can give you of this is my wife's business. So she bought a business. I think she might have even bought it through GMO. I'm not sure. But she bought a business that she knew nothing about. She used to own a restaurant. She bought a weight loss and nutrition clinic. knew nothing about it, right? So she bought, supposedly, a system that would work without her being there, and, right? And so she was, the girls that she had working for her were getting 40% conversion. And so we sat down and we looked at the process and we put some more structure to get, she's attended the Professional Sales Masterclass like 5 times, but she won't pay me to come. She just, whatever reason. So we worked out, went through a whole process, and she now gets 85% conversion. But what's really cool is that she's trained one of her girls who works in the clinic, and we were a bit concerned. We were like, Jesus, is she going to be able to get like, 80, 90% conversion? She gets 80% conversion. So if you've got a system, you can implement something that can, and it can change the maths in her business, right? So her marketing costs are the same, her product delivery costs are the same, but this has absolutely changed the maths in her business. She's making, in addition, she's making double the profit than what she was before. So 40%, so 4 out of every 10 clients that she speaks to now 8 to 9 out of every client that she speaks to come on board as a client. Massive, massive shift in her results. So the question really is what would happen if you doubled your conversion rate? Same amount of cost in terms of marketing, same amount of product delivery costs. What would that do to your particular numbers? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the system with you. So the first part that you need to do is acknowledge the situation. So what is the situation that your client is in? What is the context in which the conversation is happening? Context is extremely important as it relates to a sales process. So you need to create context. The best way to do that is to frame the conversation. Another word for framing is creating an agenda. An example of an agenda is, okay, so in order for me to work out how we might be able to help you today, I have some questions to go through with you, and then we can give you a couple of options to choose from at the end. That is an example of a framing conversation that you could use with a potential client. It allows you to establish some control. It also allows you to establish some authority. Both important things if people are going to buy from you. The second reason is that it dissolves pitch expectation. So people come to a sales conversation expecting some kind of pitch, sometimes, depending on what their past experience has been. When you create an agenda and you put a frame around it, especially a frame that says to see if we can help you or not, it dissolves that pitch expectation. It allows a very free-flowing conversation to take place. The next thing that we need to do is we need to troubleshoot. So we need to find out what the core driver or the core motivation is behind the purchase. 70% of people who buy are buying to solve a problem. An example of a core driver question is, so what was it that made you decide to want to have a chat to us today about insert what it is that you do here? Yeah? What we also then need to do once we've established what the problem is we need to shine a light on the problem. Here's when a sale takes place, it takes place at the exact point where the cost of doing nothing becomes greater than the cost of investing with you in your particular product or service. Am I making sense so far? Yeah, cool. Everyone with me? Yeah, all right. Who thinks this is valuable for you? Brilliant, awesome. Okay, so the next thing is that we need to switch, and we need to switch over and say, okay, well, what would be a great result? We've talked about the problem. What would be a great result for you? The next part we need to do is say, okay, well, how would that affect things? How would things be different? I've got the dude walking out of the cave because as a professional advisor, as a trusted advisor, we are essentially leading people from the depths of their problem into the promised land. I mean, that's a bit dramatic, but that's essentially what we're doing, right? The next part is to kickstart a solution. So it's only here that we actually talk about what we would recommend. I don't talk about our product up until we've diagnosed properly what their situation is. And this is the bit where you say, look, based on what you told me, what I would recommend is. Best way to recommend or frame your particular recommendation for what it is that they should do. And then the last part, of course, is to enroll them. And so enrollment could be simply confirming the next conversation, the next contact point, or it could be enrolling them on the spot. If you might have a one-step sales process, or you might have a two-step. Or if it's somebody who needs to go and get some additional information, it's just simply confirming when the next conversation is going to take place or when the next meeting is going to take place. One of the biggest mistakes people make is that they don't make an appointment as to when the next conversation is going to be. They say, oh yeah, well, I'll talk to you next week. So no. What day do you want to talk next week? Monday, Tuesday, start of the week, end of the week? Get that dialed and you've got a continuance, you've got a way to continue the conversation. So a great way to frame that is to simply say, so when would you like to continue the conversation? So as I said, we cover off on the entire follow-up process in the one-day professional sales masterclass. This was actually I did a presentation for Bank West, and I was going to make the book How to Follow Up Without Being a Stalker available, and then I was like, maybe that's a bit edgy for Bank West. So I kind of just made it a little bit more PC. How to follow up using proven follow-up strategies. So we do cover off on that in detail in the one-day professional sales masterclass. It is on the 8th of December. There is a form on your seat. If you do register tonight, I will give you a 15-minute implementation call, or just we can have a chat about your particular sales process. So I'm happy to make that available for you tonight. The professional sales masterclass, I have a 12-month program. In the professional sales masterclass, I cover off on my entire curriculum. So my entire control your conversation, connect with your ideal clients, and convert more of your inquiries into paying customers. I cover off on that entire curriculum in a day. I had Michaela, who attended the last one. Did you have fun? I've also worked with Angie, and there's obviously John's seen my presentation a few times. So if you want to ask those people, don't take my word for it, you're more than welcome to do so. Hope that's okay, Michaela. But look, I'd love to see you there.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
That was a fantastic talk.
My pleasure.
Before we go, John has also provided us with a great gift for one lucky attendee. It's a free booking for his seminar, which he stated is on the 8th of December. John, if you'd like to do the honors and pull the name. Are we just going to? Yeah? You are?
Okay, not looking.
And it is John. No, joking.
I don't think I'll put my go. Perth Surgical Shoemakers.
Andries van Tonder.
Andries van Tonder. Look forward to seeing you there. Actually, I'll keep that because we need to send you the details. Perfect. Awesome. All good.
No, we'll make a note of it and we'll ensure that you get that ticket. Thank you. One of another sponsors that we'd like to thank is Digit Books. That's Leah and Andrew who run Digit Books. They are there to help create happier businesses through better bookkeeping. They manage the books so that you can manage your business. So if you guys are looking for some good bookkeeping services, please get hold of Digit Books. I know a couple of clients that do need a bit of help on that, and they could be good.